Well, good afternoon, everyone. And it's so nice to see all of your happy faces. If you haven't turned on your video yet, it's great. It's always helpful just for a nice personal experience. And if not, that's okay. We love you. We hope that you're there smiling and you can see everything that's going on. But this is a very special week because we get to kick off this special edition virtual education this week, and we have featuring almost all of your staff members. And we thought, you know, it's great to start off today with two very special people, and I'll tell you about them in just a moment. But this week we have I got all the materials from all of the staff members, and we got some really great things you're going to learn this week. But what's really cool about this is that we kept really encouraging folks that no matter what skill level or model you have, you should attend. And so everyone is that's teaching this week, they're going to everything they're teaching is designed for. If you've got a smaller model, I see Daun sitting on an easy 4 right there. It's going to work. And then Sean's sitting at a larger model, but everything they teach is going to be, I'm going to say 98.76777% of the time going to apply to everybody. It might be off by 1%, but that's the goal this week is that no matter what instrument you have, so if Daun teaches something on that one, it's going to relate to the larger models and vice versa, and Sean is going to do the same as well. So with that said, today we wanted to start with Daun, as you know, Daun Casanova is hails from the villages there, and she is on most of the time on a daily basis with a lot of you. So you know how special she is. Sean is not on as much, but when he is, I get nothing but amazing compliments and comments on what Sean does and teaches. And he's great at just kind of like manipulating the buttons and the screens and all of that stuff. Sometimes things will pop up out of nowhere that we weren't expected, and it's usually a good thing. So, with that said, enough talking for me. We're going to kick it off with Daun Casanova over at the village. She's going to take over and teach her part, and then she'll turn it over to Sean. So, let's give it up for Miss Daun Casanova.
Oh, thank you so much,
Yay!
everybody. It's wonderful to be here with you today. And thank you for attending. Hopefully, you will learn one thing. Remember what I tell you. If you learn one thing from every person that's teaching this entire week, you're going to be 100% successful. I do have a syllabus for today's class. I'm sure Robert will post that on Patreon when we are done so that you can get an idea of what I'm actually doing, and lots of good music, lots of things to teach. As you can see, I am on the Easy 4. And that's because a lot of times we do things on our smaller or on our larger instruments. And I have had a couple of you ask me, hey, I love how you play some of that 70s music on the big instruments, but I never can make it sound the same on my little instrument. So what I'm going to do today is teach you how to make the Easy 4 sound better. Now, it's never going to sound like a bigger instrument, but it can sound better than it is. For those of you that own Easy 2s, Easy 3s, Easy 4s, Easy 10s, and you have the full band, the pianist, and the guitarist, I will just bet you that some of you only use full band. Am I correct on that? Why? Because they're the ones that sound nice and big and sound really full. So today I'm going to focus on pianist and guitarist backgrounds and how can I make them bigger so I can have actually more stuff coming out of these beautiful, easy instruments. All right, and yes, this one is for sale. If anybody's interested and you want a slightly used Daun instrument here, please let your PA know after the performance
Dawn,
today.
only if you autograph it for him, though, okay?
Oh, I can do that too.
Yeah. And everybody stay tuned after she's done. I'm going to talk about the bigger ones a little bit too, so it's for everybody
Yeah.
here.
Yeah, we'll take care of everybody. Well, I'm going to open up with a song. And what is in front of, my emails popped up in front of the organ. I didn't know if you could even see any of this. Okay, so here's your beautiful Easy 4. I'm going to start out with a song setup. Song setup is always going to give you the best setup possible. And so I'm going to go to song setup. I'm going to scroll until I get to a song in the H's that says happy together, because that's what we all are, is we're always happy together. I'm going to touch select, and that is going to give me everything that I need to play this fabulous song. It set up the drums, it set up the tempo, it chose a rhythm for me, and this one actually happens to be a hidden rhythm. For those of you that have the larger instruments, a pop shuffle is exactly what you want to use on this at 115 beats per minute. I'm also going to do something towards the end of the song that is a little bit different than what some of you probably even know about. And here we go, happy together. Okay, so the button didn't push. I'm pushing an extra button. And fade out. Okay, that's happy together on a song setup. Now, what did I do different? Because what song setup is always going to do, it's going to give you two sounds, one here and one here. But there is something that we can do to make it sound even a little different. We can get a third sound by pushing some, we can get 4 and 5 sounds too, by pushing one button. And so this is what we're going to learn today. Remember, when we do arrangements, we always want to do a one button push. If you do not have presets that you can set up, and those of you who come to my bigger classes, you see that I do a lot of memorizing of presets. Well, on an instrument like the Easy 4, the Easy 10, the Easy 3, the Freedom 3, you don't have that opportunity. So what you have to do is you have to create one button pushes so that you can do a setup so that you've got it fast enough that it makes it nice and smooth. So all I did today was use that song setup. It did give me a harmony, which is something you can always use. That's over here. And it gave me a sound on the bottom. So basically all I did is go back and forth. But then I made a third sound. When I came to the last verse, if I should call you up, invest a dime, I decided to do a combined sound. So how do I do that? Well, on your easies, you have, and this even goes for fanfares and journeys as well, you have orchestral on off and then an orchestral to right split. This is the hardest part of any of the organs, is to know that these orchestrals can go to the top keyboard and they can go to the bottom keyboard. If you have two commands on, meaning if it's telling it that it's going up and down, you can now put two different sounds. And the first sound you touch is going to go to the upper keyboard and be a solid light. The second sound that you touch is a flashing, and it's going to go to the bottom keyboard. If you only have on one of these commands, guess what? Both of the sounds are now combined on that upper keyboard. So what I did is turn off the orchestral to right split, and what it did is it put those two sounds together and sent them back to the upper keyboard. So now I created a whole new sound, just a layering of sounds. And I'm going to do that a couple of times today in the songs so that we always have a one-button push to make an arrangement. Okay? All right. If those of you that have presets, it's just real easy to just hit your presets and get something a little different. And then just mark your music as to where you need to do it. And you'll know because if you're at the end of a section, usually sections are 8 measures long. If you're at the end of a section, that would be an appropriate place to change a sound. Okay, that happened to be a full band performer. Now, what happens when we have the pianist and guitarist backgrounds? I am sure that some of you who have this instrument say, you know what, I don't use those because I like getting the big sound. If you go to standard pianist, this is what you get. Okay. Sounds pretty vanilla, doesn't it? It's pretty boring. All right, so how do we make that bigger and better? Well, you have to do some things. And I actually have a list here of 6 things that we can do to make every pianist and every guitarist rhythm on here bigger and fatter. I like the word fat because it really makes it sound thick and layered and full of stuff, really orchestral. All right, so what's the first thing that you usually do? Number 1, and you can take notes if you want, but again, we'll have this posted. We will have this posted on Patreon. Number 1, add drums volume. Add drums volume. Well, here's a picture of a drum. And so if I add the volume, I now have, okay, made it a little bit better, right? Okay, what else can I do? Number 2, you want a lower chord sound. Because guess what? There's no chord sound here. No chord sound down here. So where do I find the chord sound? It's all the way over here, and they're gray buttons. It says lower, ensemble, and more. Those are the sounds that go to your lower chord. The sounds that go to your lower chord. The more is usually something a little more percussive, like a piano, and the ensemble is going to give you something that's a little more like strings or organ sounds. And you can scroll until you get to something that you like, vocals, organs, okay, strings, organ and strings. And the more is going to give you things like a grand piano, lots of pianos, lots of bass, lots of guitar things. Oh, there's even a couple of organ sounds in here. We're going to use one of those later on as well. But that's what the lower does, is it gives you, now you can hear some chords. So I have now filled out my rhythm, so it's not just so plain. It's going to give it more stuff. Okay, now we can also, because what's on top? If you choose a pianist performer, what's going to be on top? How about a piano? That's what they give you. And sometimes it's nice to just use a piano background and a piano, but sometimes you don't want just a piano. How can I do a 1-button push? Number 3, preset your organ button. Preset it, meaning touch it. It's going to show up in the window. If you added something to that piano, what would you like to add? Some strings? Or you can scroll to different strings. Or you can scroll to different organ sounds. Okay, so you have to do this in advance. You have to preset your organ sound so you're not doing organ, scroll, 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 scroll in the middle of playing a song. So preset it to something that you want and then go ahead and turn that off. That means that when we get to another section of our song, we can just make a one button push and add some more stuff. Why? Because we're building an arrangement. And when you build an arrangement, that's what you're doing, is you're always adding something else. All right, what else can you do? You have a harmony button. It's all the way over here. You also, and this goes for the big instruments as well, if you're planning to use a harmony and add it later on in the song, you want to preset it. Make sure you turn it on and preset it. Which one do you want? And Sean did an excellent video on harmonies. So if you are unclear about what your harmonies can do for you, please go back and refer to that. But you preset it. Do I want a duet? Do I want rock and roll harmony? Do I want octave harmony or just a plain old AOC, which gives you the fuller harmony? Preset it and then turn it off so that, again, when you're in the middle of your song, you can do a one button push. There's always time to push one button to build your arrangement. All right, that's your fourth thing. What else can you do? Well, I already explained it. I did it in the last song. You can always turn your orchestral to right split, which sends a second sound to the lower. You can turn that off, and now the two sounds that are chosen up here are going to go to that upper keyboard. And that gives you a whole new sound, a sound here, and a third sound by just layering the two. And the way to layer the two is just reach up and turn orchestral to right split off. Now be careful. If you ever want to go back to your lower keyboard, you better turn it back on again because you just took everything away. Number 6, and this is one that I kind of found by accident. If you lean on the foot switch, what does the foot switch do? If the foot switch to the right gives you a fill-in, correct? So if I'm doing a fill-in, it gives me a little bit of a fill-in. Well, I accidentally, and I know some of you accidentally do this too, but you didn't mean to, lean on that right foot switch, because what it does on the Easy 4 for certain rhythms is it acts like an alter style, and now you have a fresh rhythm as well as fresh sounds on your right hand. Wow, pretty cool. So I'm going to end up doing that to 2 songs today where I actually lean, and I'll tell you where it is so you can hear it. Lean on that foot switch. Now, those of you with the bigger instruments, what do? You go over to the left-hand side and you hit alter style. Alter style also gives you that tweak in your background to keep your rhythms fresh and do something a little different in part of the song so it doesn't all sound the same. All right, so the next song I have chosen to do, and I do have to do a little bit of setting up, is called Suicide is Painless. This is the theme from MASH, and what I find so cute about this song is that it was actually written for the movie that came out, and the producer of the movie wanted it for one of the scenes where the painless pole was, they were going to have a fake suicide or whatever, something in the movie. And so he asked the music director or the musician who was writing all the music for MASH, please come up with a song. Now it has to have 2 things. It has to have the title, Suicide is Painless, because it fits the scene of the movie. And number 2, it has to be the stupidest song that's ever been written. Well, this guy could not come up with that. Mike Altman? He could not come up with anything stupid because he was too serious about his music. So he gave the project to his son. And his son came up with silly lyrics in the space of 15 minutes, and he did it kind of as a fun thing to do. Little did he know he would make millions and millions of dollars from writing the lyrics to a silly song called Suicide is Painless. So there's your trivia story for the day. Okay, so what am I going to do to set this up? I am going to go to Smooth Guitarist, which on the larger instruments would be guitars 4/4. Or you can even go to Soft and Easy Guitars, and I'm going to put this at 120 beats per minute. I know that seems kind of fast, but it's not. And then I'm going to take my drums volume all the way to the top. Remember, adding your drummers is your very first thing to do.
Yeah, this looks like a lot of words on the screen, but this is super handy. This is exactly what she's talking about, just kind of in order there.
Yep. Yep, that's exactly what I'm doing. Yep. And what else did I want to set up? I wanted to do something else here. Okay. Huh, I forgot already. Wouldn't you know it? That happens. Okay. Oh, what I'm going to do too is I'm going to add a harmony when I get to the first chorus. I'm going to change octaves when I get to the first chorus, and I'm going to lean on the fill when I get to the first chorus, because that's just going to change up my background, so I have a difference between my verse and my chorus. Then I'm going to add the lower sound to my top keyboard. So I'm going to get a real pretty flute with that nice guitar, and I'm going to add that together so the last verse is played with that bigger sound. All right, so let's try this and see if I can remember exactly what I did now. No chord. No chord gives you drums. The lower ensemble so I can get some sound on my chords and go to the lower keyboard. And combine them. Background change, I took my foot off. Lean on the expression or on the fill. Add it back to the bottom and finish up with just the flute. Okay. So do you see how I took the two sounds? I took the guitar and I took the flute, and then I combined them by turning off the orchestral to right split, and then I had a bigger, fatter sound on top for playing it the last time through. And that's just something you can all do. Even on the bigger organs, don't be afraid to try that. Don't be afraid to just turn something off from your lower keyboard and send it back up to the upper keyboard so you have some really good combinations. Make sure they work together, though. Usually Bill Curry has done a wonderful job of setting them up so that they do work together. And did you hear when I kicked my foot switch? All of a sudden that whole background changed. And all I was doing a continuous fill, and it worked perfectly to give me an alter style on the Easy 4. Pretty cool. And for those of you with the bigger instruments, you just want to reach over and touch alter style when you get to some of these different things. Really nice stuff. Okay, how am I doing on time? Oh, pretty good. All right, I'm going to do one last song here for you. And we are going to apply some of the same things, some of the exact same things. And this is a song called The Entertainer. And for those of you who didn't think you could play it, I gave this to my level 1 class, and they did page 1 absolutely perfect the first day. I hope some of you guys are on here today. The Entertainer in easy play. If you are on a bigger instrument, of course you want to use some of your ragtimes. Your Joplin stride is the background to use. Well, how do I make it sound good on this wonderful little Easy 4 or my Easy 10? Okay, so what I am going to do is standard pianist. Remember, this was the one that's kind of boring. But guess what? We're going to make it perfect for the Entertainer. First of all, I'm going to put my tempo at 130. Yep, this one moves a little faster. You can adjust it higher or lower to whatever works for you. I am going to make sure my drums are all the way to the top. Now, remember what sound it gives me? A piano. What's down here? A piano. Guess what? I don't want a piano down there. So now I have to come over here and I'm going to change this sound to a clarinet. Clarinet is in the woodwind button. So if I touch woodwinds and scroll, it's going to take me to clarinet. Now how do I get it to the bottom? I'm going to touch and hold the pianos, so I still have that on top. Then I'm going to touch the woodwinds second. And now that one is flashing, so that one goes to the bottom. So I should have piano. There it is, my clarinet on the bottom for the Entertainer. All right, I am also going to use the lower ensemble. I'm going to add that to my background. I'm going to leave it off the first time. I'm going to add it the second time. And then I am also going to use a harmony. Now, why? Because the Entertainer, and I had to learn this when I was smaller on a piano, and I couldn't do it because they want you to do stuff like, then they want you to play octaves. And my fingers are too small to do that. Well, guess what? The harmony button is going to help me out. So I'm going to preset the harmony. Actually, I'm just going to do it right now. And I'm going to set it to octave. So now instead of me doing this, I'm just going to play one note, and it's going to give me that wonderful octave. So I have that there. All right. The last time I am going to lean on my fill so that it changes up my background. And you're going to hear that it's almost as if I am using a golden harp. Wow. So some of you with golden harp, you might want to consider adding that to the last time you play the song. Now this one does, I'm going to use the introduction, so I'm going to turn on the introduction first. And always start your introduction with the key of the song, which is C. The ensemble, I'm going to play the lower keyboard. I'm going to send that clarinet to the top by turning off my orchestral to right split, and I'm going to lean on the fill with my foot. Okay,
Woohoo.
very good. I could play stuff like this all day. I could play every single one of these and just have a blast doing it. But it's one button pushes. Sometimes two, but most of the time you want to have everything set up so that all you need is a one button push. So now I've shown you how you can take one of your pianist and guitarist rhythms and change it into a full band by just presetting or changing some of your things here to give it more sound. Sometimes you want to keep it as a pianist or guitarist only, but most of the time I think you guys like having the full band sounds in your instrument. So hopefully you learned one thing today, and I am going to turn it over to Sean. Thank you so much. Thanks for coming today.
All right, I've got some more cool stuff for you because I'm going to make it so confusing for you now because I'm going to take everything she just said and do the opposite. Because that's just what I like to do, just ruin everything here. So this is going to be fun, though, because like she said, sometimes those pianist or guitarist rhythms, you just want to spice them up, add some stuff, make it more fun and goofy. Sometimes you might think the opposite. Oh, boy, there's a lot going on in this rhythm. If only I can mellow it out a little bit. What if I can make this a pianist rhythm or a guitarist rhythm? You can do that, too. So let's do the opposite now. And what I'm going to show you is how to take a big noisy rhythm that's just got all sorts of stuff going on and turn it into the opposite, a pianist or guitarist. So here's just a quick example, and then I'll show you what I'm doing. So one rhythm that a lot of the larger instruments have, and if you don't, that's okay. A lot of instruments have things like Frank and the Count. That's about very similar to this as well. But sometimes you turn on the rhythm, and it sounds like this. There's just so much going on. Listen for all this stuff. Here we go. Three, four, one. So what's fun is when there's a lot going on in the background like that, when you listen to that, there's drums, a strummer on the guitar, a bunch of saxophones, brass instruments. It's just chaos. There's so much going on, but it works for those big swing songs. But now let's take, and I'm going to press a few buttons here, and I'll tell you what I'm doing right when I'm done here. Press a few of these here, and now I've got it nice and calm here so that I can do something like this. There's my bassist, pianist. This is the same rhythm, but now it's a pianist rhythm. So you can take all that stuff out of there if you want to, and let's tell you how. Somebody in the chat just said turn off Orc Plus. That is a great way. That's one of the ways. Let's show you this here. Because to turn all these band members on and off, you got to know where the band members are. Who are they? So Daun just talked about a lot of these things. This is just kind of a picture showing all of it. I'll put this in the chat for you guys on Zoom in just a minute here if you want to look at it yourselves. But obviously, it's right in front of you. And then it'll be on Patreon as well for those of you looking at this later on. But these are the members of our band playing in the background. So what Daun was kind of saying is if you take a pianist rhythm, for the most part, the pianist and guitarist rhythms, what you're going to hear are these, and just those. So right when you turn on your rhythm, if you're on something like standards pianist on an EZ4, that's what you're going to hear. Some bass and a piano player. Likewise, the guitar players, you'll see on these pictures, it's got both of them. There's my guitar player, there's my piano player, and my bass player. And then right next to these little pictures, it shows you what they look like on the instruments. So sometimes it says basic, sometimes it says genie. So look for one of those two. It's going to be on there somewhere. And the bass, you've got just a button called auto bass, or it's just a bass volume. You can turn it up or down. So that's what we already have in the pianist or guitarist rhythm. So we're going to do the opposite of what she just did. And I'm going to start with all of this stuff on, because it's a full band rhythm. You hear all those things going on. And I'm going to one by one, if I want to turn it into a pianist rhythm, I'm going to take them and send them home. So I'm going to turn that off. I'm going to turn these guys off. And I'm going to turn my drummer off if I want to. So on that last example, I left the drummer on, but I turned all those other things off. So let's do another example here. If I want to take, let's just take a rhythm like 50s love songs. I think most everybody has that somewhere in their instrument. It sounds like this. Here's my introduction. There's a lot of stuff going on. But not every song you hear has all that stuff going on all the time. So let's turn off some of our players here. So let me put that picture back up there. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to send some people home. I'm going to say, Mr. Drummer, you've been great today, but I don't need you. I'm going to turn that off. So I'm going to take the volume of the drums. There's an up arrow and a down arrow. Which one do you think turns them down? The down arrow. Very good. I read your lips. That's okay. So I'm going to turn the down arrow all the way to 0. And then I'm going to take, and I'm going to send my bass player home. We don't need him. Go home. I'm going to turn off my auto bass button. So if one of these is on, turn it off. Then I'm going to take and send all these guys home by turning off the button right here, ORC plus. And last, this is the one that some people get confused on or don't know about. It's called lower. You should all have a button that either is called lower left, or it's a tab if you have tabs on a larger instrument. And it's a red one right toward the center of the instrument. It says lower tabs. If it's on, turn it off. So touch it and make that light go away. And if I do that, if I send all these guys home for the day, you're going to get something like this. Here's my new introduction here. Nice and simple. And what did Dawn do? She started adding things as you go along, and you can still do that. You can say, okay, when I get to that point of the song, I'm going to bring my bass player back. I'm going to say, you come on back in. So when I get to the next part, I do it again, and I have bass. I can add in my orchestra plus. And then if I want to, add the drums back in anytime you want. my full band back in. So that's just a really fun and easy way to make an arrangement. Turn the rest of the band members off. That picture I showed you, you got a button for each one of those. And as you go along, you can add people in, take them back out. But it's really, really fun to experiment with. That's why my segment here is I'm just going to keep kind of simple. I'm not going to give you huge instructions, but what I'm going to do is give you a couple examples of some fun things you can try out on your own. Especially with these rhythms, what I would do, pick one you like, and turn off a lot of those things, except for maybe the genie or basic button, and just listen to the introduction without them. See what it sounds like. You get some really cool things. Like, let's just do a couple quick examples. Like if you're going to play a waltz, there's a really nice one called Lullaby. Let's just listen to that real quick. It sounds like this. Kind of hear a bunch of things in there. So you heard drums, bass, all the stuff, but I'm going to do what I said here and just, I'm going to send them all home. Go home, go home, go home. Here we go. So now, if I do it with just the genie or basic, they're the same thing. If I have it just that one button on, let's listen to my new intro. Ooh, it's really pretty. You can kind of hear the bells a lot more now. You could play something like this. It's not Christmas time, so I'll stop playing that one. But what's fun is you get all that great sound. It sounds like a brand new rhythm now. It sounds totally different than it did before. And you can do that with any of them. One thing that's kind of fun, too, is you can take, let's say, let's do a couple more. Ooh, I'm going to show you something really cool. This is if you do have these big touch screen organs. If you don't, everything I've said so far applies. You can do all of that. What I'm going to do right now is take a different rhythm. Let's do something like Latin music. This is really fun. Okay, I just put on Ballroom Latin. Yeah, Ballroom Latin. That's the rhythm I just put on. Let me show you on the screen here. Whee! That's my big screen TV in the room here. I have Ballroom Latin selected, and what I'm going to do is, some of you may know this, there's a button on your screen that says touch here to edit the style. So if I do what I was saying and combine it with this is a lot of fun. I can turn off my bass player or my drummer. I can turn off the lower section still. But now I can say, I don't want to turn off all of the orchestra pluses, maybe just certain ones. So let's say this Ballroom Latin, what if I want to do it with only strings? First, let's listen to it with everything in, so you kind of get an idea of how it goes. Sounds like this. That's all of them in there. Well, that was a whole messy thing. A lot of things going on, which is great for a lot of songs. But what if I want it to be nice and simple? So let's do this. Let's turn all of these off but the strings, and you're going to hear a totally new sound. It's going to sound very, very different. Here we go. Ooh. Same introduction, but a minor. That's just kind of an example. I don't need to play the whole song there. But it's really fun to listen to some of these intros and endings with less things going on, and it just sounds like a brand new rhythm style. So when you think of these instruments, like some of these have 286, I think is on this one, rhythms, you can take and turn it into thousands if you just take out different players in the band. Or if I go back to that real quick, this is a little bit more advanced, but you could even say, I don't want them to even be strings. I want them to be something silly, just theremins only. Now, I'm not going to do that because it's going to sound ridiculous. But just know you can change every little thing you want and make your rhythm your own. So just play around with that at home. I'll take one more example here just so you can get an idea here. Hopefully I'm giving you some ideas of what you can do at home. Something like this, like Rinky Tink. That's another really fun rhythm. Let's just do the introduction and listen to that one just as is here. Now that's a fun one, but sometimes you don't need all that stuff. Let's turn it into just a guitarist. Let's have just the guitar player. So all I do, press around on all those buttons here, just showed you. Just a review again here. We're going to get rid of some of these guys. Let's send the drummer home, send the bassist home, send my orchestra home, and turn those guys off. All I want are my guitar players or piano players. So just these guys. So now let's listen to this here. Maybe I'll play a little bit more of a song on this one. So here we go. Here's just the guitarist. Completely different. Let's add some more. Now you can hear all the background on there. Add some more. Add a little more. Go back to my ending. Okay, so hopefully that gives you some ideas of some things you can do. Add members in gradually. It makes for a great arrangement. You don't even have to change your right hand sounds if you're doing that. You know, you could just stick with the same sound if you want. Just keep adding background people. So just a couple ideas to noodle around with. And I think we have just a couple announcements, and then I'm going to end with a song. I'll play a song on the way out here.
Sean, what instrument is that?
This is a Lowry Symphony.
Okay. Thanks.
Yeah, of course.
It is available for adoption. All right.
You've got some announcements for us?
Yes, I do.
Cool.
All right. So first thing I want to tell everyone is it won't be posted tonight. It's going to be several days. Probably all of these classes this week will be posted next week. We've got a lot of classes going on this week, so you're going to get all of this information this week to absorb it. But Sean, I've had some people ask, how do I get this stuff? What is this Patreon thing that you keep talking about? And so Sean is going to screen share. He's going to show you. It's while he's doing that, it's patreon.com/Fletcher Music Centers. Okay, and if you go there, if you're a member already, then you know the drill. You'll get this information. And if you're not, it's a great way to go back and watch all of the recorded classes. Also, as he scrolls down, see now you have to be a Patreon member to see Carrie on that class. And every now and then we have class like you'll see there Daun has. And if you notice, and every now and then there'll be something that has an attachment like there's her styling arrangement notes, and then all of the notes of the class. Daun does a lot of intros and endings for a lot of her classes, setup ideas on a lot of the classes. So as you go through all of these, it'll have all of that. And then, what's that? Oh, there's My Eyes Adored You arrangement. This has got to be one of the most famous arrangements ever made in the history of Fletcher Music Centers. I've heard people say, I've downloaded this and sold it on eBay for tons and tons of pennies. No, just kidding. So anyway, so you get all sorts of great information on that. You can go back. And also on that note, I'm going to let me screen share. So let's see, and oh, here it is. So give me 1 second here. So just a reminder, this week, as you know, at the end of the week, we have Mr. Dennis Awe himself. Today we saw the fabulous Sean and Daun. We have a new nickname for Sean. He is now considered Sizzling Sean and Dazzling Daun. I just made that up, and based on Sean's expression, I don't know if he likes that.
Well, I just don't know why I'm sizzling. Am I being
I don't
cooked
know.
in some way, or?
Sometimes it just, whatever pops in my head in the moment is now there for infinity. And this is recorded, so it is basically eternal. Anyway, so tomorrow we have Andrew and Carrie doing their show, 12:30 Arizona, 2:30 Eastern. And I saw their materials and I thought, boy, there's going to be a lot of the same things taught. They actually have a lot of material that's going to be quite a bit different. So this is going to be a great a week of education. And then on Thursday, 1:30 Arizona, 3:30 Eastern, Joni and Joe. And then, of course, on Friday, February 18th at 9 a.m. Arizona, 11 Eastern. This is going to be pretty cool because Dennis Awe is going to be broadcasting that right out of the Villages at the store there. So if some of you want to go in and participate and be an actual live audience, Dennis, he's a ham. So when he gets a live audience, it just makes it even more exciting. And the rest of us, we can't catch a flight fast enough to get there. So we'll just have to watch it online. But it's going to be a great time. So that is happening the rest of the week. The schedule, you'll get another announcement first thing in the morning with an email. The information is also on the website as well. And then I will also post it on Facebook like I did today. So one way or the other, you'll be reminded. With that said, Mr. Sean is going to close off this particular special edition session with a fun number.
All right. Thank you. Okay, settle down. Here we go. Okay, so I'm going to do a good example of what we just talked about. So I'm going to kind of start really basic and then add some members to the band as I go along. So what I'm going to use as an example, I played this in a concert forever ago, but it's a lot of fun. I just tried it again. It's just so fun to play. It's a song called December 1963. Oh, what a night. So Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons. Here we go. Here Here's my introduction. I'm not even going to use one. I'm just going to start with the drummer. Oh, nice and loud. There we go. It's weird. The volume has been crazy today. It does whatever it wants here. There's my basic. Let's add the bassist. There we go. There we go.
And a big round of applause to Sizzling Sean and Dazzling Dawn. Big round of applause, everyone. That wasn't big.
Oh, there we go.
There we go.
There we go. Yeah.
All right. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you for coming today. We can't do it without you. Love you all. And
Welcome.
thank you
Great
so
job.
much for being here. Thank you.
Beautiful.
Bye.
Thank you. Very good.
Thank you.